can't talk about the case at all.
All eyes are on this New York City courthouse as the federal trial for disgraced mogul Sean Diddy Combs begins.
Music mogul Sean Diddy Combs goes on trial today.
Combs is inside the courtroom along with those prospective jurors.
He faces multiple charges, including racketeering and sex trafficking.
The musician, famous for hits like Bad Boy.
Hold on, he's almost been doing the video. I got you, bro.
Boy for life. And can't nobody hold me down. Charged with sex trafficking, transportation for prostitution, and racketeering conspiracy, the 55-year-old has pleaded not guilty to all charges.
Today was a monumental day when we're talking about Sean Combs, P. Diddy, Puff Daddy. At one point, he also had the actual key to New York City. So to see him today facing trial on federal criminal charges is completely a downfall of who Puff Daddy, who Sean Combs was.
Prosecutors allege he used his power to force women into prolonged drug-fueled orgies he called freak-offs, and then threatened them into silence.
The freak-offs, according to prosecutors, were these sex marathons. Some of them lasted days, and they were fueled by ecstasy or other party drugs. And women were not allowed to leave.
Highly anticipated at the trial, the testimony of Cassandra Ventura, the singer better known as Cassie, who was at the center of this now infamous video. The disturbing scene appears to show Combs chasing her down a hotel hallway in 2016, knocking her down and kicking her. The first evidence shown to jurors today, videos and photos from that violent encounter.
Everyone was leaning in and focusing and watching this video. Literally, you can hear a pin drop in that courtroom.
A security guard who came onto the scene in the aftermath of that attack testified that Diddy had a devilish stare and Cassie had a purple eye. Another witness alleging he was paid to have sex with Cassie while Diddy watched and told to urinate.
What?
He had a devilish stare and Cassie had a purple eye. Another witness alleging he was paid to have sex with Cassie while Diddy watched and told to urinate on Cassie.
You heard so much about sex during the prosecution's opening, the defense opening. You heard about oral sex. You heard about missionary style. You heard about baby oil being put on people's body. You heard so much. This is not a case for the prude.
2023 civil lawsuit against Diddy changed everything, helping spur the federal criminal investigation into the mogul. Diddy has denied these allegations and settled that suit without admission of wrongdoing.
Mom, how are you?
Diddy's mother and children arriving to court this morning to support him, along with Combs' spokesperson.
Obviously, this is like a horrific time for the family, so they're just trying to hold steady in their faith and make sure that they take care of each other.
And how is Mr. Combs feeling?
Upbeat. I think, obviously this is a huge deal.
Chap, unless the children themselves say that they're support, I don't give a shit what the reporters say. That's get mad at me all you want. This is my take. Going to court doesn't mean shit. It doesn't mean anything at all. Okay, whether you're curious, whether you want to know, whether you're just showing up because it's your parent, whether it's for whatever, doesn't matter. It could be a million reasons. You're showing up to court doesn't mean shit. Speaking for them, saying that it's out of support, unless they said it before, you're responsible.
And so he's just ready to have his side told in open court.
Inside the courtroom today, Diddy smiling and blowing kisses to his family.
He's very observant as to what's going on in the courtroom, and he's taken part in his defense.
Both sides delivered their opening statements, making their case. The all-female prosecution team saying that Combs used a trusted inner circle to commit crime after crime, including kidnapping, arson, and sex crimes. Prosecutor Emily Johnson saying, this is Sean Combs. To the public, he was Puff Daddy, or Diddy, a cultural icon, a businessman larger than life. But there was another side to him, a side that ran a criminal enterprise.
The prosecution is alleging that it was his inner circle that enabled him to be able to engage in these acts, but also hide these acts from the public and for it to go on for so long.
At least 3 alleged victims of Diddy are expected to testify, including Cassie, and a woman prosecutors are referring to as Jane. During opening arguments, prosecutors alleged that Diddy forced the women.
Wait, only 3? Wait, only 3 are going to testify?
To
I thought there was a lot
participate in
more.
so-called freak-offs, and instructed Cassie and Jane how to look, to dress in lingerie, wear tall platform high heels, and have manicured white nails. Diddy's defense arguing the sexual relationships were consensual and not coerced, saying the rapper lived a swingers lifestyle.
The defense wants to say that these women are all adults. They're all consenting and willing participants in these freak-offs.
Defense attorney Tani Garrigo saying in her opening statement, that may not be what you like to do in your bedroom, but you're not here to judge him for his sexual preferences. She later added, being a willing participant in your own sex life is not sex trafficking. That disturbing video was also part of the defense's opening arguments, plainly saying it was an instance of domestic violence. Garrigo saying, domestic violence is not sex trafficking. Had he been charged with domestic violence, had he been charged with assault, we would not be here right now.
Okay, I mean, that does make sense.
Sean Combs may be a lot of things. He may have committed domestic violence, but those aren't the crimes the defense said that he's charged with. So in effect, the argument is he's a criminal, just not the kind of criminal they say he is.
The first testimony of the trial taking jurors to Los Angeles, March 2016, in the hotel where that surveillance video was taken. The first witness, an LAPD officer who worked security at the
I mean semantics. Brother, it's not semantics. It's just the fact that if you can bring up, I'm not even sure that you can do that. I thought there's an objection for that. Like, it's another thing. The charge isn't on the docket or on the charge thing. This is not semantics.
He responded to a call for a woman in distress on the 6th floor.
Foundational.
When he got to the floor, he noticed that there was glass on the floor, that the vase and the flowers were broken.
The security guard described going back to Diddy's hotel room and standing in the doorway while Ventura grabbed her things. Inside, another man sitting at the corner of the bed.
So from the very start, the first witness brings the jury into that hallway where he said Sean Combs looked at him with a devilish stare and Cassie Ventura had a purple eye.
Sean Combs tried to offer him money, to give him money to make this go away, and he said he wouldn't accept the money.
The second witness to take the stand, Daniel Phillip, a man who said he was paid to have sex with Cassie on multiple occasions at several high-end New York City hotels while Diddy watched. The witness said he was paid between $700 and $6,000 each time.
So Mr. Phillip agreed to go to the Gramercy Hotel to do a performance for a bachelorette party. At least that's what he thought. But when he got to the hotel, to the room, that Cassie opened up the door. He did not know that was Cassie, and that she told him, well, it's my birthday and my husband wants to do something special, so can you give me a massage with this body oil, and then we can just take it from there and see where it leads.
Diddy allegedly in the corner masturbating, wearing a bandana over his face. During these meetups, he says Diddy would often give directions and at times tell him to step off and back up because he was going to get some.
Sean Combs's children, his mother, came to court to support him, but when the testimony...
Okay, hold on. Dude, I'm watching this video, right? Are the reporters deliberately leaving out the important part? Well, I'm confused. Are they leaving out the part where they talk about how that's the criminal acts that are engaged in this? Because just that in itself, it's some cuck shit. But I mean, it's mega cuck. But I haven't seen a crime.
When the testimony
what are they doing?
became
They're not really selling me on this at all.
Stood up and walked out. And they came back in at one point. The testimony got more graphic about...
Yeah, okay, it's day one. They're building to it. Makes sense.
Ejaculation, about urination. That was too much. They turned and walked out again.
Phillip also described witnessing Diddy drag and hit Cassie. When asked by prosecutors why he didn't intervene, he testified, "My thoughts was that this was someone with unlimited power, and chances that even if I did go to the police, that I might still end up losing my life." Cassie, who's now 8 months pregnant, is expected to take the stand tomorrow.
Cassie's the case. Cassie Ventura, who has not spoken about this publicly except in a civil lawsuit, is taking the witness stand as a star witness.
Her husband and father of her children spotted at court today. If convicted, Combs could face life in prison.
In the evening on August 3rd.
It's interesting. So he was a witness of that, and I mean, in some capacity, like involved, and he said nothing. It's gonna tough, like. Oh, what is that?
I said on horses. His name is Django. He's a free man. He can ride what he pleases. Not around my neighborhood.
Dude, I don't, bro. That's so brain dead. That's so brain dead. Jess, somebody said something Diddy today. Is that it, or is there more?
Star witness Cassie Ventura taking the stand today in a New York courtroom in the sex trafficking and racketeering trial of Sean Diddy Combs. This trial's marked the first time Ventura and Combs are seeing one another in person since their 2018 split. Federal prosecutors claim Combs used lies, drugs, threats, and violence to coerce his ex-girlfriend into sexual encounters with male prostitutes. Ventura said the alleged sexual encounters typically lasted between 36 to 72 hours, the longest one...
Whoa. What the fuck?
...lasting 4 days. Ventura is currently married and pregnant with her third child. She told the jury today about how the hip-hop mogul controlled her life and their relationship, describing the alleged physical abuse, saying, quote, "He would bash my head, knock me over, drag me, kick me, stomp me in the head when I was down." Combs has pleaded not guilty to all 5 charges he's facing, including racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking by force, and transportation to engage in prostitution. A warning for our viewers, this story may contain accounts, descriptions, visual content of actual or alleged events that some viewers may find disturbing. So for more now, let's bring in ABC's Rena Roy live from outside the courtroom.
Wait, hold on. Chat. I don't mean anybody to discredit the victim. It's not was that ever brought up before? And was there any other proceedings related to that before? Or not? There was?
Along with ABC News legal contributor and trial attorney Brian Buckmeyer. Rena, we will begin with you. Cassie Ventura, of course, on the stand most of the day. She's talking in graphic detail at times about her participation in these freak-offs. So what did we learn so far today?
Yeah, Trevor, very graphic indeed. I can tell you that I got a chance to listen to her testimony inside court here behind us, and she was emotional. She broke down into tears at one point when she talked about participating in those freak-offs. She says that she was just 22 years old, had just turned 22 when Combs first proposed to her.
They settled.
Those drug-fueled sex.
Wait, they settled. Wait, so what does that mean for that then? What does it mean for that then? Like, if there's a legal proceeding about something that's like a crime and they settle, can you bring it up as evidence of a crime in another case?
Sex marathons with escorts. She says eventually, though, they became almost weekly, and that they lasted on average, as you said, about 2 to 3 days, the longest one 4 days.
Yeah, I don't think so.
She stayed awake by drugs that she says Combs gave to her, including ecstasy, cocaine, and Molly. She testified that those freak-offs made her feel dirty and worthless, but that she felt like she did not have a choice but to participate because she says Combs would become violent with her. As you pointed out, she says that he would bash her in the head, kick and drag her, and that she didn't know what would happen if she didn't do what he wanted her to do. She told the jury that she tried to express her feelings about participating, but in at least one text message shown to the jury, Combs told her to make it happen anyway. Trevor?
Brian, given how emotional and explicit all this testimony is, what kind of strategy do you think we might see from the defense attorneys in cross-examination?
Discrediting
So
the
I think
witness.
the defense is going to try to move away from the emotion and some of the more explicit terminology that we're seeing in this case and try to go for a much more logical argument that they're making, that Sean Combs participated in domestic violence, allegations that would rightfully so be attributed to state charges, but that there was no racketeering conspiracy. There was no sex trafficking. It was domestic violence for domestic violence sake, based on jealousy, infidelity, and just anger. And so I think that's the angle they're going to take.
Chat, I think because of the nature of the case, I don't think they wouldn't even be able to stream this or have the video of it to be watched, right? Because there's like some sexual stuff in there and topics, whatever. It's off limits. They probably have this as like can't do that.
But some of the testimony, as Rena pointed out, and just how Cassie is on the stand, that's going to be a very hard argument to distinguish between the different types of force and how they were used.
So, Rena, Diddy is there in court. He's watching all this testimony from his ex-girlfriend. There's also many of his own family members there. Did we see any kind of reaction from Diddy today?
Hell no.
Right. For the most part, he appears to be pretty focused on Cassie Ventura, his ex-girlfriend. He is listening intently. At one point, we saw him scribble down some notes and speak to his attorney. But
I will say, though, not a great look to be, if the drawing is accurate, not that I want to be weird about it, but leaning back a little bit. I'm just saying. I would assume you want to look at, like, attentive, that you're paying attention, that you're thinking the information and you're paying attention, but not like sitting back. Come on, bro.
Attorney, but other times he appears to be more passive.
Looks a little dismissive. Looks a little
in his lap at the defense table with not really a certain kind of expression on his face. She, on the other hand, has not appeared to look at him once since she took the stand. She has looked at her husband, who is inside court to support her. Remember, this is the first time that Combs and Ventura are seeing each other face to face since 2018, so you can imagine how this might feel for both of them.
Brian, how do you imagine this might land with the jury?
Oh, that's his default. I'm not gonna say
all of this extensive testimony of this nature.
It's
so
the cut chair
at this
pose.
Point, with direct examination, without anyone
it's
coming
the watcher.
up and crossing Cassie, I think the jury is looking at Sean Combs, and I was in court this morning to see some of those notes with disgust, with disdain, to think about how one individual can do this to another in this way. And so I think it's going to be a high hill or even a mountain for the defense to kind of walk this case to the jury to suggest that, yes, Sean Combs, as Tenny Garrigo said in opening statements, has done some indefensible things, but it's a matter of what he's being charged with and what he did. A very difficult distinction, because I think earlier on in her testimony, it seemed much more about domestic violence. Now we're starting to see the allegations and some of the facts that bleed into that sex trafficking,
that's all I want to see.
Fraud and coercion, and that enterprise, that criminal enterprise that the government alleged is surrounding Sean Combs' inner circle. Because when she looked at some of those photos of the security guards, the chief of staff, at least for me as I sat in that courtroom, I could hear the tone of her voice change. I can see her body language change, and you can see that she had some very particular feelings of maybe even fear in describing some of these individuals, and I think that's really proving the case for the government.
Brian Buckmeyer and Rena Roy, both with that in-court perspective. Thank you both.
That was actually a good commentary.
Star witness.
This guy kind of cooked hard. Yeah, that was good. I enjoyed that. Well done. Well done. ABC legal contributor. Guy.